Hey everyone, Shark here, and the Natlan teaser trailer has me so hyped for the new area. There's a lot of things that were revealed in this trailer, and I want to talk about them because they're pretty easy to miss. So I'm going to go over the characters, their elements and their visions, plus their relationship to other characters, and I'll also give you some theories that I have. So let's jump right in. First, we see the Shark Girl Mualani, which we know is a Hydro Element character, and what's kind of interesting here is there's a symbol on her stomach that is similar to the swirly symbol on the ball that is throughout this trailer. This ball seems to be linking a lot of the characters in this teaser trailer. There's three of them that don't get past this ball, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but it seems like there is an overarching sense of competition and a tournament, which is very present here, but the fact that this symbol is also very similar to the symbol on Mualani's stomach makes me think that this ball is not just a device being used to kind of introduce the various characters, but that these characters are going to take place in a tournament and that a lot of them are going to be linked together through some sort of competition. Next, we see Kachina appear, and when Mualani and Kachina are on screen, it just gives me the most Pokemon vibes here. We know that Kachina is a Geo Element character, we saw that from a previous trailer, but outside of that, we really don't know too much about her, and we don't get any real information in this trailer that gives us any more info about what she does. Next, we get to see Kinich, which we know is a Dendro character based on the color and aura that he had in the previous trailer, and we also know that he is a Claymore character based on the weapon he was using in that trailer. He's swinging through the canyon, and it kind of looks like he's doing some sort of Spider-Man traversal, which could be a hint at the various types of travel that we'll have, because in a previous trailer, we've also seen the various animals that are used to get around Natlan that are speculated to work kind of like mounts. They also reveal his pixelated companion Ajaw, but there is also another yellow pixelated companion that is present in the trailer for about 3 frames. Natlan already reminded me a lot of Pokemon, but with these companions and Kinich, it reminds me of it just even more. We then see Citlali, who has a cryovision very prominently placed on her hip. And then there's Xilonen, a tall female figure with a lot of lion-esque features, but her tail has spots and stripes that make her look more like a snow leopard or tiger. She has a geovision around her necklace, which is displayed pretty prominently as she's napping on a tree. Next is Iansan, who is the first character from Natlan that we ever knew about, but we don't know what vision she has. She's appeared in the manga before, and I've asked manga readers if they know anything about her vision. They say they have no clue, but speculate that she'll be Geo or Pyro, but we don't know anything about what she's actually to be like just yet. And next we have our Bloodborne demon hunter Chasca, who has a cryovision, which is not featured here, but in a later scene. She also has elf ears, similar to Klee and Layla. I don't know if this is going to be anything of any relation, but so far the relationship between characters that have these elf ears doesn't seem to be very present, so maybe it'll come into play later, but for right now I don't think it really means anything. And next we move into the second part of the teaser, and oh boy, there is a lot here. We first see something that looks like the main city of Natlan, but it's probably not the main city, unless there's just more to this that's off camera that we can't see. This whole area is clearly an arena, and I think a major focus of Natlan's story will be a tournament arc, which I'll discuss about a little bit later. But this area is clearly the place the tournament takes place, and we can see the large horns present that match the arena in the next few scenes. And if we look at the size of horns and show them in relation to what is shown in this circular area, the space just is not big enough to house a whole city. So I think the main city of Natlan is somewhere else. It's either connected and off camera, as we see a little pathway going to something else from this circular arena area, or it's somewhere else entirely. We also have this really large rock with a plateau at the top. Part of me thinks that the majority of the tournament will take place on the ground, while there could be the finals or another part of the tournament that takes place on top of this rock. It could also just be a very important place that might be a hollowed out rock with some sort of elevator mechanism, which does kind of look like one of the doors that we see in a scene later. But there's also this hot air balloon that's hoisted above this rock, which may let us ascend to another off-screen floating island or something like that. The next scene showed this tournament area, this arena, in a little bit more detail. We can see a few round doors decorated with a dragon art style, and this will likely be where our competitors enter, or it could also be a special entry point for monsters to come out of, similar to what happened in Gladiator. And we start to see some fire, but it's not just regular fire, which we see light up in a few braziers here and there. This type of fire has some blue flames mixed in, which I think becomes very relevant, especially later in the trailer, and I think these blue flames are representative of sentience and maybe something like the primordial flame. And next we are introduced to Xilonen, Mavuika, who everyone says is the Pyro Archon, but I'm honestly a bit skeptical. I mean, obviously she is very important and gives plenty of Pyro Archon vibes, but I think this is a little bit more like a Raiden or Farina situation, where the true Archon is actually someone else behind the scenes, especially considering what happens later. Mavuika's vision is not shown, but there's no way she's not a Pyro character. Her hair is designed to look like flames, and she has details that are reminiscent of the sun, which obviously hints at a relationship to fire. But the imagery of the sun is actually much more important than just having a relation to fire. It is an important Mesoamerican symbol. The most famous example of this is the Aztec sunstone, which itself is steeped in symbolism. Its central disc shows the sun god holding a human heart in each hand, signifying the need for sacrifice to the sun god. The rest of the sunstone depicts bygone eras that were destroyed and then eventually came about anew, and it acts kind of like a calendar, or at least what the Aztecs believed history to be. There's not only a focus on sacrifice here, but also a focus on large swaths of time that were destroyed and the formation of new eras. This similar imagery present in so much of Mavuika's design could symbolize the need for sacrifice to her as a god or for something else, and that she may be using the tournament as a form of sacrifice to usher in a new era, and also to revitalize something or someone, which we'll see in a little bit later. Next we see the previous characters from phase 1 of the teaser in frame, but now the frame is burning and everything is black and white. I think this is an indication of a tragedy that will befall Natlan that we as the heroic traveler will have to inevitably prevent, just like in the trailer that showed the flood of Fontaine. This also plays into the idea of sacrifice, especially with the next scene, because next we see a firebird flying towards Capitano and Ororon, which looks a lot like a phoenix, a common symbol of death and rebirth. Right now, we have no idea what Ororon's vision is going to be, why he looks so much like Sasuke, or why he's following Capitano, so that's gonna have to be revealed later. And then we see Mavuika talking to Capitano side by side, but they're not looking at each other, they're looking in opposite directions. This style is commonly used to show an adversarial relationship, or at least one where the characters have opposing goals but have to consider each other when they're making their action. We come into the conversation here at a much later time where it seems that Capitano and Mavuika have already struck some sort of deal prior to what's happening here, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be very good. Mavuika seems to be taunting Capitano a little bit here, and given the phoenix symbol in the previous scene and the conversation in this one, I think Mavuika is going to allow and even wants Capitano to compete in the tournament just to wreak havoc and destruction in Natlan as a means for some larger goal. This goal could be something like the resurrection of a previous Archon, Dragon Sovereign, or other important figure, which we'll talk about in just a bit. We also see the blue flames in this scene linking Mavuika, Capitano, and the sentient fire. So yeah, I definitely think we're getting a tournament arc that is used to revive some sort of powerful being, just like the Majin Buu saga of Dragon Ball Z. The next scene is Mavuika walking in a big, empty, dark room, and this area seems to be underground, or at least within the large door that we've seen in a previous part of the teaser. And then she starts talking to a floating fireball with blue flames at the center. There's also smaller floating flames around that circle the fire, and it's very reminiscent of how Genshin shows that something's sealed or locked. She talks about how it's time to burn again, making me think she's trying to revive at least one of these flames. And I say one of because the next scene is her turning around and we see some blurring and vignetting meant to look like someone waking up. And then we see there's 6 blue and orange flames that seem to be focusing on Mavuika. And then she talks about sight and eyes, and there's another camera vignetting that comes down, making it look like those flames are closing their eyes. And then Mavuika says the final line of the teaser, "For with our blood we will forge our true fates." At first, I thought this was a reference to sacrifice and Mavuika and other characters from Natlan that need to die for some greater good, and then I thought that this was not necessarily referencing spilling of blood, but rather a familial bond, in other words, a bloodline. So that brought me to the idea that the main story of Natlan will involve a tournament arc that's really just a vehicle to resurrect a sleeping or sealed entity that is the former or true Pyro Archon. And again, I think that Mavuika is not really the Pyro Archon, just a stand-in. There is a ton here to digest, and I'm just thirsty for more. Honestly, I'm just very hyped to explore this new area, though I would love to know what your thoughts are, so let me know down below what you think the story is going to be, what you think the characters are going to do, if there was something I missed, and I would love to hear your thoughts and your theories. That'll be it for this video, everyone. Take care, I love you, stay jawsome, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.